Science fiction, since its inception, has been an excellent way of exploring human society, culture, and morality, sometimes focusing on the positive aspects of those, like in the luxury space communist utopia of Star Trek, other times the negatives, like the paranoid dystopias of 1984, Brave New World, or Fahrenheit 451. But one subgenre in particular I feel is an excellent way of exploring what happens when we advance technologically but stagnates as socially. And I'm afraid to say the name of this subgenre for fears of y'all clicking away. This one's about cyberpunk.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I am so sorry. My name is Comrade Faust, and this is Praxis Pals. First, I'll try to sneak back into y'all's good graces by talking about some Blade Runner, because no one that's seen Blade Runner doesn't like Blade Runner. Now, my most recent viewing was the final cut, so that's the text that I'll be working with today. And also, as just a blanket statement for this whole video, I declare the author dead. For those of you that don't know, the death of the author is a concept in literary criticism. That means that the author's job is finished once they finish writing. It is then the job of the reader to interpret the text. The author's feelings and desired intentions are irrelevant, which means that they can't say that wizards shit on the floor, that Hermione's a TERF, whatever bullshit nonsense J.K. Rowling's saying these days. It also means that my old college professors are real heel for telling me that Candide was not about the endless cycle of life and death. I'm still pretty pissed off about that one. And also, I'm going to be comparing the modern worker to the replicants in Blade Runner. I do not wish to act as if their trauma nor the inherited trauma of their descendants is equal to my own as a worker. So I am sorry if I inadvertently say anything wrong, and please do actually let me know if I do, and when I do, so that I can make sure I don't fuck up again. Now a quick summary of Blade Runner for the sinners amongst y'all that have not seen it, and you should probably go watch it. It's the distant future, the year 2019. Replicants are cyborgs, and they're enslaved and work on off-world colonies, and sometimes they go run to Earth to seek freedom. Blade Runners are police employed to execute the runaway slaves, which they call retiring them. 4 replicants have come to Earth, so an ex-cop named Deckard is threatened until he agrees to go and execute all of them. One does not realize that she is a replicant because replicants are given false memories. He falls in love with her, hides her, kisses her. And the others are desperate to stay alive, but Deckard cannot kiss all of their mouths, so he murders them. Also, Deckard may be a replicant, probably not, who knows. The end. Now onto my analysis. The world of Blade Runner is lit by neon signs and advertisements, as corporations are completely inescapable. Scenes are often chaotic and frenetic visually, from the sheer number of advertisements on screen. People, their memories, eyes, bodies, and personalities are created by corporations. The replicants are people created by corporations. Even the police, though they're not created by corporations, they serve their interests by enforcing property laws. The police assigned Blade Runner enforce strictly property laws through extrajudicial killing. Recently, I became upset by the number of ads that got added to YouTube videos. They seem even more prevalent than they used to be, and they have always been very prevalent. It's pretty annoying to be watching a 15-minute long video and get a targeted interruption of a good-ass deal on some embroidery supplies 3 separate times in the same video. And that's not to mention the paid sponsorships where my ASM artist tells me all about a skincare company in whispered tones. I mean, shouldn't ads just be relegated to billboards in the bottom of my screen, and the side of my screen, the top of my screen? That's where they belong. Advertisements have permeated into all aspects of our lives. KFC recently made a cheesy-ass Hallmark movie, but that's not the first time we've seen ads in movies and television. Product placement has been a thing for a long, long time. For another example of a movie produced by fast food, see Mac and Me. Hey, don't see Mac and Me, by the way. It's terrible. Unless you drink a lot. Why do you think Chili's and Staples featured so heavily in The Office with Jim and all his fun pals? I constantly see tweets and retweets by brand Twitter to the point where I feel like I know Sassy Wendy's personally. And in video games, I play some 2K, badly, and see simulations of ads, which, to be fair, does increase the immersion of watching games. And I did spend $60 to watch ads on that, I guess. Totino's have paid the McElroys to have an episode of their podcast, My Brother, and Me, be all about Totino's pizza rolls. And it was all Totino pizza roll questions. It was fun. I loved that episode, but it was still an ad. But even if these are fun ads, they still are ads, just like the ones relegated to billboards, but perhaps they are more nefarious because they masquerade themselves as something different. They force themselves to be a normalized part of your life. They need to be in your life. We can see the ads in movies as both a literal representation of how buck wild ads get under unchecked capitalism, but also, more importantly, as a demonstration of the inescapable presence of corporations. Big businesses exist in every avenue and aspect of life. They are constantly present on screen because they are constantly present in life. Also, hey, under unchecked capitalism, ads have gotten buck wild, and corporations are an important part of your life. The film even opens with an interview with a Blade Runner and a suspected replicant, who is a garbage man. I'd like to clarify that this runaway replicant slave is being questioned for being a waste disposal worker. The Blade Runner was hired to interview someone suspected of running away to illegally be a garbage man. Being found out as a garbage man is worthy of death. You do not get to rise above your station. Your life is lived for a company, and you retire when you are done with the company. And replicants, they are at least the equal of humans. The opening text crawl makes it clear that replicants are superior in both strength and agility to their human counterparts, and are at least equal in intelligence, and that at least is carrying quite some weight. Every decision in a piece of media is intentional, so that at least implies that human intelligence is surpassed at times. Replicants are at the very least equals, though a minority. The reason replicants are murdered is that they are illegal on Earth. They can exist off-world, but not on Earth. A small little mutiny proved that they were too dangerous. In my country, the US, you can be detained, imprisoned, or deported for coming in and doing labor without the proper paperwork. Your life here will be tough. You'll pay into social services, but receive no benefits of them. You will perform labor, but be underpaid worse than those who are already underpaid. In fact, I have seen claims of undocumented persons being paid as little as $1.21 per hour. Undocumented people prove a benefit to both the state and companies because they are so frequently exploited, and exploitation is good for the economy. However, it is illegal to exploit undocumented people, and it is illegal for those people to come here and be exploited. Yes, that exploitation should be a crime and should be treated with unyielding gravity and righteous anger, but it should be only aimed at the criminal capitalists, not the people who leapt from one form of suffering to another, chasing their own personal right to life, liberty, and happiness. The replicants similarly deserve a happy life, and immigrants deserve a happy life. We, as the audience, are given no cause to feel that the replicants should be used as slaves, or that their lives are any less valuable than the lives of their human counterparts. Nor are we meant to feel that just because they are AIs, that their emotions are fake. It's the reason why there is doubt cast onto whether Deckard is human or not, because in the end, does it matter? Did it matter whether the dove that flies as Roy dies is synthetic or not? I don't think it does. The violence he does is just as violent whether or not he is like them. Yes, we should have pity for him that he has been made to do violence through coercion, but we should understand that all Blade Runners are bad for having been Blade Runners. All Blade Runners are bastards, and they are class traitors, apparently. We may not feel that these particular replicants were upstanding. They did try pretty violently to kill Deckard, but we are sympathetic to them. They are being chased down by someone who wants to kill them. They're rounded characters. They aren't just a shitty MacGuffin. Just like humans aren't good or bad, but rounded. These are stand-ins for the working class. Disposable, mistreated, made to stay in line for fear of a class of people who can murder them and get away with it. And the only true end to the work and the only true freedom was running, fighting, and demanding freedom. The other alternative to freedom was retirement. Death. Yeah, they went to some lengths to survive, but that's bravery, fear, and human nature. Not evil. It is evil to hunt and punish them because it is right to fight and run from slavery. It is natural. And yeah, a replicant Deckard would be the equivalent to cops being the working class, which would make the police class traitors. And yeah, he's in some Schrodinger's robot territory. But even if the police are a separate class, and even if the Blade Runners aren't replicants, it doesn't matter. The personal moral failings and the refusal to loyalty is bad, but compared to the institution of policing, I'm unconcerned. Just like if my house is on fire, I really don't care if that includes my lawn or not. I'm hitting my self-imposed word count, so it's time for me to talk about Cyberpunk. So in this video, James Keanu Reeves is Big Chungus. He says impressive cock.
Charisma. An impressive cock. Maybe we can just get...
You're breathtaking.
I'm about to end this man's whole career.
You're breathtaking. And you see some wings, a lot of wings. When you're making a character, you have 4 different types of wings. And some NPCs T-pose to assert their dominance, and Geraldo Del Rivero would never do this to you, would he? So V is a normal person who, for one reason or another, is taking part in crime against corporations to survive. Pretty based, I'd say. V's personality is being overwritten by a Johnny Silverhand because V put a chip in their head. Johnny Silverhand is Keanu Reeves, by the way. Johnny fought the big bad company, Arasaka, and wanted to destroy it because they killed his girlfriend. He raided their office, but then his personality was uploaded onto a computer chip. When Johnny's personality was uploaded, it was through the Soul Killer program. By uploading his personality, he exists only as an AI construct, whereas his body and soul dies. He is severed from his soul through the Soul Killer program. Pretty heavy-handed. V goes on their quest and eventually has to decide how to take on the company and its leader. V can kill themselves, a bad ending where they feel it's the only form of escape and all their friends are very sad and life is worse without them. Or they can choose to die a slow, painful death after having sold out to the company. Or the other option is an assault, where at the end either V or Johnny is given control of the body with the knowledge that they will die very soon and are a doomed man, or woman, or non-binary person. This is a little less subtle and pretty clunky, I'd say. Can you get any clunkier than a big company erasing souls? I do not think so. That is the most heavy-handed thing I've ever seen, but it's still worth unpacking. I come home from work and sometimes I'm too tired to turn on the radio. I just drive home in silence. I stumble inside. Usually I'm too tired to do anything but drink a beer and maybe eat. A lot of times I'm too tired to even play video games. And I'm sure as shit too tired to do anything creative or worthwhile most of the time. It makes me feel like my soul is hurting. And that's not an exaggeration. My work feels pointless. I do not do anything worthwhile outside of work most of the time. And sometimes I feel very alone in my suffering. That is not a bug of capitalism, that is a feature. Marx determined in the manuscripts of 1844 that workers are alienated by capitalism from other workers, the products they make, and the actual making of the products, and even from their human spirit. Or species essence is the more accurate translation. And I don't really think he's wrong there. It takes real work to make real and authentic connections with other workers. And workers are just not going to feel like their work is all that important when they don't feel like they're working for each other, but for their boss, for the company, for some other. It's a much smaller scale, but the reason I'm able to make myself work on this script that I'm reading off of is because I'm working with someone. Tennessee Sooner and I are working together for ourselves and for each other. We're not alienated from this work here, and we're not alienated from each other. I stay up late after work writing. He stays up late editing. It's not soul killing. And yes, I'm really watering down Marx's theory of alienation. It could be a whole separate video. V's only hope to survival is to access the rebel inside of himself. And by turning the instruments of capitalism, that being Johnny, back on capitalism, that being Arasaka, otherwise they'll die slowly and lose themselves. By being authentically themselves and still embracing the methods and aspects of a rebel from a prior era, they are granted some life. It's a short life and a doomed life, but as Nietzsche says, the revolutionary is a doomed man. That's why it's not a failing that V and Johnny will ultimately both die. They were destined and made to die, but in fighting, they have made themselves free. And I think it's important that it's not V or Johnny, but V and Johnny. Socialism, anarchism, communism, or pretty much any other leftist tendency just doesn't work when you're alone. The alienation can only be broken by coming together with others and working together as a union. There's a bit of dialogue with your sci-fi doctor, I think they're called Rippers, right before you decide how you'll end the game. He knows that V and Johnny are about to go do the final mission. He's watching a boxing match on his television, a sci-fi television, and says even though it is a rerun, he still gets mad. He knows who wins. It's the bigger guy. The loser's mistake was going against a stronger opponent, but can you even call it a mistake? Yeah, it's clumsy, and the whole game is clumsy, but I think that scene really shows the ethos a revolutionary must adopt. Yeah, we might lose. We've lost before, but we might win too. It wasn't a mistake for the replicants to fight. It wasn't a mistake for V and Johnny to fight. Revolutionary Catalonia and the free territory of Ukraine were not mistakes. The Zapatistas, Rojava, those are not mistakes now either, are they? Thanks to my friend and comrade, Tennessee Sooner, the other half of Praxis Pals. Check out his video game channel, or you're making a huge fucking mistake. And check me out on Twitter and TikTok. I'm on TikTok now. I've got like 5 TikToks. Links are in the description, and hey, smash the hell out of that like button if you liked us. Jam on that subscribe. Ring that bell, fam! Shouldn't have did that.